Welcome back to the self-proclaimed best NFL show on the internet. You know me, you know Alpha, but let's all welcome back Chris into the fold for week 10. Chris, welcome back, man. Good to have you on for the first time. I think it was since March Madness, brother. How we feeling?
Great, man. NFL is my jam. I love it, and I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm glad I can fill in whenever the big dog has other plans.
Absolutely. We'll be missing Matt this week. But before we get into it, guys, make sure you sign up to our handicapping contest over at Oddspedia. There's a monthly NFL competition. There's a yearly NFL competition. It costs absolutely nothing to sign up for an over $1,000 prize pool. It's pretty insane. I actually came 15th in October, but unfortunately I work for the company. Unfortunately, I work for the company. They can't pay me out, but I'm still going to do it for the rep. Simply, guys, make your picks each week. Sign up to oddspedia.com. Go and get yours. Gentlemen, let's head on over to our Week 10 headlines. And there's been a few. For me, honestly, Detroit simply can't be stopped. I mean, each week it's a new test. Each week they pass with flying colors. Second favorite on the Super Bowl odds board at plus 480 and gaining momentum. Chris, could they very well be representing the NFC in the Super Bowl this year, man?
100%. I am not a big Detroit fan prior to this, but I love the product they're putting on the field, hands down from top to bottom. Dan Campbell's got this team gelling. Offensive and defensive coordinators are arguably the best in the league. They play their style of ball, and they play it well. You can argue their running backs, both Montgomery and Gibbs, are the best in the league, and they have them on the same team. They're stacked at tight end. They're stacked at wide receiver. Amon-Ra St. Brown is just an absolute route runner. He's a total package. The Detroit Lions, if they can stay healthy and they can stop the run continuously, they can arguably win the Super Bowl with ease. I just love the product they put on the field, and they are hands down the best team in the NFL at this moment.
Yeah, nothing short of studs on that team. Alpha, what do you think, pal?
You hit the nail right on the head, Chris. I mean, Detroit has been the best team in the NFL this year, and that's just not an opinion-based feeling here. That is factual. When you take a look how they've performed against the spread, they are on average beating the point spread by 9.5 points per game. The second best team in the NFL has been Washington at doing that, and they're coming in at beating the spread by 8.5 points. But Detroit is absolutely obliterating the spread numbers by 9.5 points per game. They're the best cover team in football, covering at 88% of their games. They are 7-1 in the year at covering. This team has been doing it on both sides of the field as well. I thought when Aiden Hutchinson went down, that was going to be pretty detrimental to that defense. It would be detrimental to them getting after the quarterback. But with them making a trade to add another pass rusher as Darius Smith, I think this team really is going to compete, and they will be here for the long run. What do you think, Dust?
Yeah, no, and we'll talk about the trade deadline rather, a little bit from now. But I think Chris said it the best, man. You guys said it the most, but Dan Campbell, I think he's got that team working. He's instilled a different culture in Detroit. Once was a losing culture and now is a winning one, man. Dan Campbell is moving up coach of the year odds board for a reason. He has the Detroit Lions humming. Moving forward to another headline, man, possibly the play of the year. Alpha, I'll let you kick this one off because I know he's an ex-Giant and he's one of the best running backs in the league, if not the best athlete in the NFL. Saquon Barkley's backwards hurdle. Can you get any better, man? Alpha.
No, you cannot. As a Giant fan, having to watch that and then to continuously watch my team get pounded week after week after week after week, it was quite depressing seeing Saquon hit that backwards hurdle, which was the most athletic play I've ever seen. I'll be honest, when that happened, I have a group text with all my Giants buddies, and I said immediately, just the F word. Nothing else, just the F word, and I got about 9 likes on that within 30 seconds. I think all Giants Nation felt the same thing about that play.
Oh, the memes are just absolutely incredible. Watching the Giants fans just like go into a dark place, watching Saquon Barkley do that hurdle. It's never ending. Chris, was that your play of the year so far, man?
I've watched a lot of football. I've played football. That is the best 15-yard play I've ever seen. And I've seen so many highlights from the 50s, 60s, 70s, a lot of great players. I've never seen anything like that. And it just goes to show you when you get an athlete like that and a player like that, and you actually put a team around him. Like, look how good he was on the Giants, and they have nobody. And now you put a surrounding cast around him. The Eagles are sneaking up the board of a team you really have to be aware of. Yep. We'll get into a little bit of something else later with Bozo of the week, which might hurt them later. but you really have to be concerned about what they produce on offense. You can't double A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, and Jalen Hurts. It's honestly a recipe for disaster, but hands down, one of the best plays I've ever seen.
Yeah, and I had Philly actually winning the Super Bowl before the season started, and what looked like an absolute terrible pick is starting to look kind of like a valuable pick now. Ever since they, got healthy, they got their A.J. Brown back. Saquon Barkley is just running on all cylinders. There's nothing much that you could say. There's no adjectives you could say about Saquon Barkley other than how incredible that guy is. Last headline I want to hit on, guys, before we move on to Bozo of the Week is the trade deadline. Of course, we have to talk about this. There were plenty of moves. I mean, Hopkins to KC, Amari to Buffalo, Devontae to the Jets, Zadarius Smith to the Lions. Alpha, you touched upon that a bit earlier. Deontay Johnson, Tre'Davious White to the Ravens. The Commanders were making move with Lattimore. What was your biggest trade deadline move, Alpha?
Probably Zadarius Smith, only because of the impact he's going to make on this team. Well, to be honest, are we calling Devontae and are we calling DeAndre Hopkins trade deadline acquisitions? Because they were the week before. If we're going to pick one player who was traded this season, I would pick DeAndre Hopkins just because what he can add to the route running tree to Kansas City. They've needed a guy who's a pure route runner who has fantastic hands, and we saw that in the game last weekend where he did score 2 touchdowns. So to me, the biggest trade deadline acquisition, or the biggest trade acquisition of the year, is DeAndre Hopkins. But on actual deadline day, it's going to go down as Zadarius Smith for me.
I'm agreeing. I'm going with Hopkins as well. Zadarius Smith, of course, he fills a massive role left by Hayden Hutchinson in that Lions defense. They had to make a move for a pass rusher. I think he's going to fit in perfectly in Detroit. Chris, what was your biggest trade deadline move?
Just to go over the fact, you go Detroit, Washington, you have Kansas City, and you have the Ravens. They all made moves. They're all trying to be competitive. So for bettors going forward, those are the teams you really want to put your money on. With Deontay Johnson with the Ravens, they want to win now. When you get Marshawn Lattimore, who is a stud cornerback, Washington is trying to beef up that defense, who's already kind of been overperforming, which is a good pick. Zadarius Smith, I do like what they did. They had to fill that gap with Hutchinson going down. I'd just be concerned about his injury history and his production over the years, but I do like the pick. They have to be competitive. Hands down, we're going to go DeAndre Hopkins, and I'm just going to do a little story. We'll go a little bit of flashback for you guys. You guys remember a player that played for the Raiders that the Patriots picked up, and they thought he was kind of done? Randy Moss? Yeah, that's exactly it. You have Will Mayo Levis throwing the ball to a player. We all thought he was done on fantasy. He really hasn't been performing. You get a Kansas City contender. Patrick Mahomes is an absolute baller. DeAndre Hopkins, as you can see against Tampa Bay, still has it. Hands down, one of the best pickups. And you can see from Monday Night Football how important he was to that offense. You have Andy Reid going to get him the ball. You can't beat DeAndre Hopkins. That's a huge pickup.
And honestly, what a player and what a man to bring into that locker room, because Hopkins, as you said, he was on Tennessee, a terrible team, but he never complained. Wide receiver group, that he never complained, man.
Publicly.
Maybe a little bit, but the wide receiver position is known as an absolute diva position. And DeAndre Hopkins is like, man, I'm here to play football. I love football. No matter what team I'm on, I'm good. He goes to KC, and of course, he's absolutely balling out. What a pickup for KC, man. Let's head on over to Bozo of the Week. Let's keep things rolling. I'm going to go real fast because as I look through the NFL schedule and I see all the European games, the slate has just been awful. Just awful. So I'm going to go the NFL schedulers as my Bozo of the Week. They've got Giants and Panthers in Munich Sunday morning. I am so sorry to the European fans that you guys have to watch this product. It is absolute trash football, but hey, you got one more week of Panthers. You got one more week of Giants. Have fun with that. Chris, who's your Bozo of the Week, pal?
Hands down, it's Nick Sirianni. He is going to cost the Philadelphia Eagles a chance to represent Philadelphia in the Super Bowl. He was so close from blowing that game by the Jaguars with his decisions to go for it on 4th down and for 2 points. You know what?
Every time.
He's like a kid that's playing Madden for the first time and just decides to go for it on fourth. There's no rhyme or reason. He's trying to be Dan Campbell. He's not. He's going to lose them a chance to represent them in the Super Bowl. And you and I both had to play Dusty Philly and Jags over 45.5. We were kind of sweating it around the third. But again, he was costing us money. And he's going to cost them games after game. And it's just he's just a bozo to me. I don't know how he got that job, but he's got so many guys on offense. I guess he can get away with it.
Alpha, bozo of the week, pal.
Well, firstly, I do want to touch on Nick Sirianni. Is there a more unlikable person, player, coach, anything in the NFL than Nick Sirianni? He's just so unlikable. It's impossible to root for this guy. He's just so arrogant on the coaching sideline. Yeah. How do you take points off the board in a 16? It was 17-0 when he took the extra point. A full 3-score game basically would have been over. But you're going to take the point back and go for 2? What's the difference between 18 and 17? You've made it a 3-score game as it is. The goal is to get it to a 3-score game. Why do you do that? He is the most frustrating person to watch in the NFL. My bozo of the week has to go to the New York Giants ownership. Mr. Mara, Mr. Tish, how the hell did you let Saquon go to the Eagles? I wasn't too upset that he was leaving. But do we have to get beat by him twice a year, every year for the next 5 to 10 years? Why would you let him go there? Do anything in your power to ensure he does not go to Philadelphia. So by far, that has to be my bozo of the week. Dustin, who was yours again? I had a comment on it.
The NFL schedulers being absolutely awful for our European fans,
I did want to say that, the NFL must not want Germany to enjoy football by putting the New York Football Giants versus the Carolina Panthers. And the fun thing about this game is that neither fan base wants their team to win. This is a battle for the first pick and to get a new quarterback. They need a new quarterback. The Giants need a new quarterback. So both of us are rooting for the team to lose. So now you're going to tell me on the East Coast, us Panthers and Giants fans have to wake up, root for a loss before the main slate. It's already brutal rooting for them to lose on the 1 o'clock slate. So thank you so much for making us do this at 9:30 in the morning on Sunday.
And you know what the worst part is? I'm going to wake up and I'm going to throw some money at this game. No matter what, I'm going to find a prop that I absolutely love. We're all going to do it. We're all going to do it. We're all waking up at 9 o'clock in the morning to throw some money on it, 8 o'clock in the morning, whatever the case may be. But I'm glad we got that off our chest, fellas. Let's head on over to our prime time picks because you know what? We got a football game tonight. We have a football game tonight, and it could be the game of the year. It is definitely the game of the week. I think it beats Lions Texans, but we'll get into that. We got the Bengals. We got the Ravens on Thursday Night Football. 55% of bets are on the Ravens at 5.5. 74% are on the over at 52.5. Chris, who are you liking on this side?
Picture for you. The Bengals are just, they're not as good as people think they are. They have been getting better each week, and Joe Burrow has been, such a dominant quarterback. Their defense is not where it needs to be. Their only wins are versus garbage teams. Yes, they played earlier in the year, and the Ravens and Bengals were close, but the Ravens, they wanted to lose that game, and they just couldn't do it because the Bengals couldn't close it out. This game is going to be a Ravens ass whooping, and I'll tell you why. The Ravens this year can run the football and close out games. These 5.5, 4.5 numbers that people think are going to be tighter are going to be hard for other teams to backdoor cover because they can run the ball and chew that clock. Ravens minus 5.5, take it to the bank. I wouldn't be surprised if the under hits as well, but that's for another day. You know what? The Raiders scored 24 points on Bengals. They're going to get absolutely shellacked on Thursday night.
That's the one thing I've been scared about is the Bengals defense going into this one. That's why I think it's going to be an absolute shootout. The Ravens offensive, the pass defense can't really stop anything, but I'll get into my pick. But before we get into Alpha's pick, I want to shout out Alexander. Appreciate you coming in, watching us from YouTube with our YouTube audience. Appreciate you coming in, and hopefully we win some cash together, man. Alpha, your pick for Thursday Night Football, brother.
Over. I see points in this matchup. I think the Bengals will be able to move the ball. We all know that Baltimore has arguably the worst pass defense in the NFL. They did just make a trade with the Rams to hopefully bolster by getting Tre'Davious White, but he's a little bit past his prime. He has not been good with the Rams. He's actually been demoted in that secondary. So I do like the piece because he is a veteran who he's the epitome of a locker room guy. Everybody loves to play with him, but they need talent on this defensive end. And the strength of this Bengals team is their passing offense. We all know that they shouldn't be running the ball too often tonight. They should be slinging it all over this Ravens defense. So I think that Joe Burrow will be able to find the end zone at least twice, maybe 3 times in this game. And if that does happen, the Ravens will take us home, because I do agree that the Ravens should win this game by a pretty healthy margin. But I do feel better taking the over. When you take a look at how these teams have performed this season in terms of totals, the Ravens are the #1 team in the NFL at games going to the over. 89% of their games this year have gone over. They are 8-1. The only team to be at that high of a margin is them, and that's exactly where they are. And then you take a look down the list a little bit further, and the Bengals are top 10 in games going to the over as well. They are 6-3, hitting at 67% to the over this year. All signs are making it seem like it is going to go over here. That's exactly what I am going to play, is going to be the over.
I absolutely agree. I'm with you there. I mean, I can't say anything else. I think you stole everything that I wanted to say, but yeah, in the last 3 meetings between these teams, man, they've gone over 50 points every single game. They're averaging 61.3 total points per meeting in those last 3 meetings. Give me the over. I think we see a lot of points. But Chris, I know you wanted to add something here.
To what you guys said is, last 5 out of 5 times this matchup, the overs have hit on all 5 matchups. I do agree that is definitely a smart play, but I wanted to take into account Orlando Brown left tackle might not go tonight, as well as T. Higgins is highly doubtful. When you make the Bengals one-dimensional, you know what? I'm sorry. Baltimore is just too complete of a team. So just keep that in mind. Those injuries could really affect how they move the ball. If you don't have time to drop back with Burrow and you got to get the ball out quick because your left tackle's out, it will affect your ability to go long, go deep, and have time in the pocket. Just to keep that in mind.
Yeah,
I think this is a normalcy.
Go ahead.
I think this is a normalcy that we're not going to see T. Higgins. I don't believe he has a pretty bad injury. I believe that he's in a contract year. He's done enough to where he knows he's guaranteed an absolutely monster contract. So why go out there and risk injury? If this team did not commit to you any additional years, why are you going to go out there and risk it all for your contract year, is at least the belief that I think T. Higgins is in. So I don't think we see him tonight. And I also agree, I don't think we see Orlando Brown Jr. for this Bengals team. He is a true questionable, and he has not been practicing this week. So it would be hard to see him go. But B.J. Hill, the best interior defensive lineman for the Bengals, is out. So this is good news for the Ravens backers here, because if you like running the ball and you like running the ball with Derrick Henry up the middle, not having a guy like B.J. Hill in there who's about 900 pounds and one of the best run stoppers in the NFL is going to be a big loss for this Bengals team. So I think that's another reason we're going to see some points on the Ravens side. No B.J. Hill.
One final point from me before we move on to the Sunday nighter. If you're looking for a nice value play here in a player prop situation, Derrick Henry right now, anytime touchdown is -270. I think Alpha and I were talking about it off air, but a touchdown in the first half, he's looking at +105, +110, depending on the sportsbook you use. If you love a value play, if you love Derrick Henry to score in the first half, head on over there and make that play. Let's head on over to.
Well, before we do, I'm sorry. I know I think this is the 6th time we've done that on this game, and it's the first game. If that's any indication of how excited we're excited for this slate. But what do you guys think about new running back Khalil Herbert coming over to the Bengals? Do you think he has a chance to find the end zone tonight? I think he is going to get a pretty good share of the ball, especially if Chase Brown is in there for some long drives. He will have to come out of the game, and then you're going to put in a guy like Khalil Herbert, who's known to find the end zone. He is a power back and great in those goal situations. You get him at +750. What do you guys think about a potential long shot +750 on only one touchdown minimum?
The funny thing is, I don't really talk about like some lotto plays that I play, but I did play a lotto at +1600 for the Bengals to score on their first drive, but they had obviously a huge list of names. And then one of the options is, of course, anybody else. And obviously Khalil Herbert was not on that list. So I'm looking for Herbert to maybe take a goal line plunge into the end zone on that first drive, but we'll see. I actually do like Herbert to score.
Me too.
Again, a very nice value bet. Chris, you have any thoughts on that before we move on?
How well has he grasped the playbook is going to be my biggest question on him. He's a great player. He can definitely run. Hey, listen, you go in the huddle, you say, go to the right, go to the left. It's really not rocket science. It's not rocket science, but you know what? That they need someone to pound the rock, because Chase Brown, is a great receiving back. So I don't hate that play. It's great value. +700. Come on.
Something
Plus 750. Crazy.
And I love throwing away money to the NFL, so I'll take it.
Yeah,
Well, hopefully that's not a throwaway. Hopefully that's a winner.
You're right. Sorry.
All right, let's head on over to the Sunday Nighter because, again, it is an incredible matchup. We got the Lions at the Texans. 76% of bettors are on the over at 49. It's like a 50-50 split on the spread at -3.5, which kind of confuses me, considering how dominant the Lions have been. Alpha, I'll throw it back to you. Who you like in here on Sunday Night Football?
This line makes no sense. I'm going to be completely honest. I mean, the Lions are the best covered team in the NFL. They're coming into this game 7-1 on the year, covering 88% of their games. They've been unstoppable as of late as well. Then you take a look at Houston, who's coming in off a disappointing loss to the Jets. They're 3-5-1 against the cover this year, covering in only 37% of games. And you're going up against a Lions team that is fully clicking on all cylinders right now. I mean, a lot of people were upset, or not upset, but a little weary of betting them because of the injuries on the defensive side. No Aiden Hutchinson, no Derek Barnes, no Kyle Pecco. But at the end of the day, we've seen what this team is doing on the defensive side. I mean, last week they didn't even have Brian Branch. He got kicked out of the game early in the first half, which I thought was an egregious call there.
One of the worst calls I've seen in a while. The ref
Absolutely. Yep. And they still were able to hold that Green Bay offense to only 14 points. I know it was a bit of a rain game, but still, this defense has lived up to what they're expected to do. Yeah. And if this defense could just play decently, this offense is going to carry them over the top week in and week out. Give me the Lions. They should be able to get it done here rather easily on the spread.
Agreed. Chris?
Until Detroit shows me otherwise, it's so hard to bet against them. It's smart money to put on the Lions -3.5. You can see that, Houston's had a little bit of a mini bye week playing Thursday night, so they will have a little bit of time to maybe prepare for Detroit. A lot of these games this week are look-ahead games where they kind of have very important matchups next week, so we'll be surprised. We'll go into that a little bit later. I actually like the under in this game. Detroit stops the run really well, and you know what? Houston has no one to throw to. I'm sorry. Dalton Schultz and Tank Dell, guy's 150 pounds soaking wet. He's a great player, but when you're missing Stephon Diggs and Nico Collins, look how easily the Jets really made C.J. Stroud look human. And I like C.J. Stroud, but I don't think he's averaging more than one touchdown in a lot of games. And I can see the game script obviously being a little bit tighter. 48.5, 49, I think is where I got it at, is a little bit high. So I lean to the under, being a slower paced game, run game. Houston has a good defense. They have really good cornerbacks. They rush the passer well. So I can just see a slow flow, not necessarily the most exciting game, and watch Detroit kind of calm down from those 50 points a game that you're used to. So I'm leaning under 49.
And you're leaning against the public, which is usually a profitable place to be. Like I said, 76% are on the over at 49, but when it comes to me, like I said, Alva, I don't understand this line whatsoever. The Lions being favored only a handful of points just, doesn't make sense to me. It shouldn't make sense to anybody, which is kind of scary to me because usually when that happens, the books know something and it's a much closer game than we anticipate. I mean, the Lions have won 7 of 8 games this year, and 5 of those 7 wins have come by over 3.5 points. They win by an average margin of close to 15 points. It's just incredible that it's only 3.5 right now. You talked a little bit about Stroud, Alpha, but he's completed under 50% of his passes in 2 of the last 3 weeks. He just has 1 passing touchdown in that stretch. In my opinion, man, that lump number is just way too low with Houston going up against the best offense in the NFL. Give me Lions -3.5. I think they come in there and they win by at least 10, but we'll see.
I have a question for you.
Go ahead, Alpha. Go ahead.
So this line is a bad number. So we're going to put that out early. I don't usually like to bet -3.5, -4. We all know that is a stinky line, but you can win those games if you find it to be the right read. It's not the end all be all following that kind of code of you don't usually want to bet a -3.5, which I'm not a huge fan of. But what would you guys think about potentially parlaying the Lions on Sunday night with the Ravens tonight? Because the Ravens game could be close. That's a bad line as well. And you can get that parlay at +120 right now. Is that something you guys would entertain potentially doing, or do you think you'd rather take both straight?
Last week I parlayed the Eagles together with the Lions and just money line, and it proved to be pretty profitable for me. So I absolutely love that play. Not heavy favorites, but favorites in the -160 range. They usually come out to be plus money. If you scroll down here to the odds, you can get The best odds on the lines around -185, -189, as we show on the screen. So, I mean, that's never a bad idea to parlay those not heavy favorites, but favorites that are sitting in the -150 to -190 range. Chris, what do you think?
I agree.
Love it. Just to add on to your point with the -3.5, one trend I've been seeing this year, because so many teams go for 2 and they really, can run the ball. A lot of these 3.5s, these 4.5s have been hitting. Usually those backdoor covers, they're not usually great numbers. I would agree with you, Alpha, a lot. Like betting 3.5s, 4.5s are tough. But you know what? With these teams going for 2, that extra point really it's tricky, can kind of mess you up. But I do not hate that bet at all. Ravens, Detroit. I'm actually going to play that right now. I'm going to get Oddspedia. Show me the best line. I'll ride with you, Alpha, on that. That's awesome.
Love it. And we love a little Oddspedia plug. Whenever we get an Oddspedia plug in there, we'll plug it as fast as we can. All right, fellas, let's head on over to the Monday Nighter. We've got my Miami Dolphins against the Los Angeles Rams. It's a terrifying bet for me. 55% with the Rams at -1, 66% on the over at 50. I say terrifying because I love these Miami Dolphins, and every time I bet with my heart on them, I always come out on the losing end. Chris, where are you going with this one? I know you like the Miami money line play here.
So Miami is the best 2-6 team in the NFL. They have talent everywhere. They've underperformed all year. You know what? You do have Puka Nacua. You do have Cooper Kupp. LA has kind of won games that you're not aware of. But the numbers, when you look at Miami, their numbers, they really have underperformed. They run the ball better than almost anyone in the NFL. They run block better. They get the ball out of their hands very, very quickly. So I can see Miami doing their quick little screen game, running up the scoreboard. The biggest question is Miami's defense. Can Miami's defense get 1 or 2 stops to really make a difference? I'm going to lean with Miami money line, even though it's cross country, which I don't usually like betting when you have those time zones. But if Rams were really that much better than Miami, the line wouldn't be 1. They're in my opinion, the NFL's really enticing you to take the Rams. And when the NFL entices you, I go the other way. So I go Miami money line.
Alpha, where are you going on this one?
I am fading your Miami Dolphins. I mean, taking a look at most recent performances, this Rams team is coming in hot. We all know what they did last weekend, 26-20 win in overtime against Seattle, who is a good team, and they won that game in Seattle. So anytime you can go into there and get a win with the 12th man being as dominant as it is, that was an impressive performance. Before that, they beat the Minnesota Vikings, which everyone thought that was a trap line. It turned out to be a trap line in that game, and they did win that game by 10. And the week before, they beat the Raiders, so they're coming in off 3 consecutive wins. My thing is exactly what Chris said. My thoughts about the Dolphins. This offense is fine. The offense is good. The offense can score. But unfortunately, their defense can't stop a nosebleed. So I don't think they're going to be able to contain this Rams offense. I think the Rams should be able to run all game over them. I think we'll see Kyren Williams have a big game. I think we see points in this game as well. In general, the total is at 50.5, so they're projecting points. I may lean the over, which is shocking when you think about these teams from 2-3 weeks ago. I don't think anybody would dream of these teams having a total of 50, but that's where we are today with Tua being back and both offenses being fully in the fold. I lean the Rams. They should get it done at -115. That's the play I'm making here, but it's not an official play on my VIP or anything like that yet. I'm still going to monitor this game, so more to come for me on this one. But if I have to pick this on Thursday, November 7th, I am going to be taking the Rams as of right now.
And if you're looking for the Rams, BetMGM is offering the best pricing right now at -100. If you're looking for the Dolphins, -100. If you're looking for the Rams, it looks like Bet365 is offering the best price at -115. But I digress there because I'm not picking either. What do we say on this show? We love a variety of picks, don't we? That's what we always say. And, and what can I say about this Miami team, man? There hasn't been a season in recent memory where the heartbreak literally just doesn't stop. It's a 61-yard field goal by Tyler Bass. He broke the Fins last week. I mean, a walk-off field goal against the Arizona Cardinals on week 8, that broke the Fins that week. However, what the team is doing right now is putting up points. I'm loving in I'm loving the over in this spot as a result. I mean, they've got 30 and 28 points since Tua's return. The Rams' point production, they've got 26 and 30 since they got Kupp and Nacua back. Both the Rams and Finns are giving up close to 25 points per game, with the Rams' passing defense ranked 23rd in the league. Miami's middling run defense will have its handful with Kyren Williams, leaving their somewhat decent passing defense kind of vulnerable back there to Stafford, Nacua, and Kupp. I think both of these offenses are trending in the right direction in this one. I'm way too scared, like I said before, off the top, to take the Finns on the money line. So I'll be taking the over. Give me a ton of points on Monday Night Football, guys. Give me the over 52.5. I love the variety, though. We've got the Rams money line. We've got the Finns money line. Let's
have a quick question. Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah, go ahead, pal.
Are we not impressed by how the Dolphins played against Buffalo, even though Buffalo always squishes them? Is that not an impressive way to come back? You're not impressed at all with that, Alpha? And secondly, what is the best part of Miami's defense? Is it not their cornerbacks? Do they not have one of the best corners in the league?
Kendall Fuller, Jalen Ramsey, absolutely.
I don't know. I just don't think it's a great matchup for the Rams, but I could be definitely wrong. It's definitely not a hot play for me. It's definitely not.
No, the thing that's scary as well is Javon Holland's health. That's something to monitor as well. If he's out, then that secondary, especially over the top plays that blow the top off your defense, those are where Miami gets a little bit more vulnerable for sure.
Yeah. I wasn't superly impressed with that win. I think that Buffalo may have underlooked them a little bit. They did not come out hot in that game. They look better. They look competent. I agree with what you said earlier. They're the best 2-6 team in football, but they have to show me something. They have to show me they can win a football game right now with that defense, because Kyren Williams is a beast and he's so hard to tackle. And the issue with this Dolphins team is they can't tackle. So that's going to really open up the passing game when you have both guys like Cooper Kupp back in the lineup with Puka Nacua as well, and you're able to establish the run, which will open the play action. I think that's going to be a real big challenge for Miami.
That's why Rams can't tackle either. The Rams can't tackle either. They're both in the bottom of the league.
That's why we're loving the over, fellas.
I love the over too. But who's easier to bring down? Devon A-Chain, who's more of an elusive quick back, or the power smash mouth Kyren Williams? I think it's easier to get a guy like A-Chain down than it is a Kyren Williams, although I absolutely love A-Chain. I can't talk shit about him as he's been a star for my fantasy team. He's been fantastic. But when it comes to pure tackling and pure power backs, I think they're going to struggle with the Rams.
Kyren's a stud.
I think the common denominator here is points. So the over 52.5. But I love it, man. No matter what happens, one of us is winning this game unless for some reason it hits the under, which I don't think it will.
Or tie, right? Or tie.
The Oddspedia games of the week, fellas. We are rolling here just over half an hour. We still got props. We still got fantasy discussion. Let's keep it rolling. We got the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Washington Commanders. Arguably we got a good NFL Week 10 slate here as I'm going through all these games. Holy shit.
It is.
We've got 63% on the of bets on the Steelers at +3, 81% on the over. That's a little confusing to me at 45.5. Chris, I'll start with you, buddy. Where are you leaning on this play?
Bet of the week. I'm going to double star this. It is Pittsburgh money line, and it's not even a question. This is a trap game of all trap games.
Love it.
Mike Tomlin versus rookie quarterbacks. Yes, Jaden Daniels is something a little bit different, but that defense is nothing to be forgotten. They are unbelievable. Russell Wilson, you don't have a lot of tape on him this year. Teams can't really scheme. They don't know what he's doing. He throws an unbelievable deep ball. They've kind of reignited that deep ball passing game for the Steelers. They can run the ball. If you look at the wins of Washington, you might be able to pull it up. It's nothing impressive, guys. Everybody they play that actually is good and competent, they lose. So if you look at who Washington's faced, I can pull it up right now. And Washington got a good team.
I've got it right here for you, man.
They beat the Bengals.
They beat
the Bengals.
The Bengals are the only good team.
The Bengals are not that good. They weren't that good. And they lost to Tampa Bay. They barely beat Chicago, who's not that good of a team. Yeah. Steelers versus a rookie quarterback. Giants twice. This is a trap game, and it's a look-ahead game. Next week, they're versus Philly. I don't think they're going to get their best stuff today. It's an easy money line. You're getting the Steelers. I think I got them at plus 130. Come on. They're 7-2. Give me that all day.
Yeah, and I'll go here before Alpha goes because I know he's on the other side, which I absolutely love.
Why are you leaking that early?
This is the biggest test of the Commanders season, man. Other than their 30-23 loss to the Ravens in Week 6, Chris said it, man. They played the Giants twice. They played the Cardinals. They played the Browns. They played the Panthers. They played the Bears. They only beat the Bears on the Jaden Daniels Hail Mary. As of now, they've played, I think, 2 teams with winning records across 9 weeks. For me personally, as a bettor, I love taking points when the other side has an opportunity to win. And in this case, I think the Steelers are in a prime spot to grab hold of the AFC North. If the Bengals, for some reason, upset the Ravens on Thursday Night Football, which could happen. You never know. I love the pickup of Marshawn Lattimore for the Commanders, but I love what the Steelers offense are doing even more with Russ Wilson. Chris, I'm with you there, man. With Russ under center, they put up 37 points. They put up 26 points. He's been the most efficient passer the Steelers have had since when? So since when? Big Ben? The Steelers just roll through quarterbacks like Miami does. They had Kenny Pickett. Okay, I'm not going to go through all the quarterbacks they've had because it's been tough for Steel Nation over there. But 3 touchdowns to 0 interceptions since taking over under the helm. The Commanders will be his biggest test as well. But like we talked about, man, this offense has made huge strides, man. And Jaden Daniels will be going up against a defense he's never seen before. One of the best units to do it this year. A defense that's second in points per game and is it's the best in the league in terms of red zone defense as well. They're only allowing 37% of touchdowns when an opposing defense reaches the red zone. Give me the Steelers. I'm going to sprinkle on the Steelers money line as well, man. I love the Steelers. That's for Oddspedia's game of the week. Alpha, do you agree? I know you don't. Hint, hint.
Hell no, I don't agree. Who the hell have the Steelers beat? I know you guys just said who's Washington beat. Who have the Steelers beaten? Because I know they lost to the Cowboys. I know they lost to the Colts. I mean, they beat the Giants. They beat the Jets. They beat the Raiders. They beat the Chargers. They beat Denver.
Chargers are a good football team.
I mean, come on. They beat Denver, and it was Bo Nix's second start. They beat Atlanta, who's Atlanta. They haven't really beaten anyone either. So, I mean, I know Washington hasn't beaten anyone, which is true. And, I mean, it's great to look into this game and seeing both these teams, their most recent win was shellacking the Giants. But I do think Washington is the more complete team. They are at home. They're undefeated at home, while the Steelers do have a road loss. This team has a lot of swag about them right now. They just added Marshawn Lattimore. They're going to come into this game fired up. And this team is tied for the best cover team in the NFL. They're 7-1 against the spread. They're outperforming the expected spread by 8.5 points per game. So, I mean, they're covering. They're playing great football. They're beating expectations week in and week out. Give me the Commanders. To me, they're the story of the year. Dan Quinn has done a fantastic job. And from somebody who's watched both these teams, you cannot sleep on this Commanders offense. When Terry McLaurin is going deep, Jaden Daniels throws the most gorgeous deep ball you have seen in the NFL this year. He's just connecting on a million different plays. He has the scramble ability. He can get out of tackles and keep plays going. Give me the Commanders. I love what they're doing this year, and I love what they're going to do in this spot, and I cannot wait to get back on here next week and yell at you guys over this game. But no, this one should be a really good game either way. It's 2 great teams that are both playoff bound, 2 teams that are on the up, and I'm very much looking forward to this game.
And I want to shout out Derek on X saying Colts are nasty, though, for some reason.
Oh, come on, bro. Well, I brought it up. I brought it up. I brought it up when I said who has Pittsburgh beaten. I mean, they lost to the Colts, but I mean, they lost to the Colts with Anthony Richardson.
Fields played. Fields, remember, we're talking about.
He was good.
Fields did play.
I'm going to be honest. Long term, I still think Fields is the better option. I think teams are going to adjust to Russell Wilson so fast, and the way that Fields can extend plays, get into tackles, and create with his legs to make deep plays by that, I think they're going to miss him as the season goes on.
I disagree.
I disagree as well. But we will see. This is why we have 3 of us on the show, so we can yell at each other.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Let's head on over to our other Oddspedia game of the week. And the Chiefs are involved in this one just because the NFL fan base just absolutely loves the Chiefs. They love to hate the Chiefs, to be honest. They love to hate Patrick Mahomes. I think every other video or reel on Instagram for me is people making fun of Patrick Mahomes or those ref AI dub videos where they're like, oh, all hail Patrick Mahomes. Defensive pass interference before the ball was snapped type of thing. Like, I absolutely love those videos. Those are my favorite. But we got the Broncos. We got the Chiefs. 77% are on the over at 41.5. It's a 50-50 toss-up on the Chiefs minus 8.5. Chris, who are you liking here, pal?
towards the over 41.5. Partly, like I said earlier in the show, it's a lot of look ahead games. A big game next week is Chiefs Bills. I just don't know how much the Chiefs are going to put on tape for the Bills and vice versa for the Bills. By the way, Colts upset alert for the Bills this week against the Colts. Derek, I'm with you. The Colts are a lot better than their record shows, but we'll get that. I'm going to go over 41.5. I think Sean Payton's going to bring his best stuff, try to shake this losing streak against the Chiefs. Everyone's going to bring their best stuff against the Chiefs. They're going to try to take down the Goliath and Bo Nix. They underperformed last week like heavily because I think they were looking forward to this game. And I think this game, I would lean also plus 8.5. And if you want to get crazy, take Denver on the money line, and I'll come back next week and you guys can all make fun of me. But if not, I'd like you guys to do 20 push-ups.
Listen, I mean, maybe that's a good time for me to jump in because I'm on the Broncos. So I'm with you, brother. I think they could have a big performance. I unfortunately took the Broncos last weekend and that 41-10 beatdown to Baltimore, which I probably shouldn't admit that right now. That was a 9.5-point spread and it got absolutely steamed. But watching that game, I hope Sean Payton's realized to stop going for it on every fourth down. That's what killed them last game. They had plenty of opportunities where they could have kicked. They could have got points on the board and stayed in that game, which they just didn't. They just did not play a good game. I think they have a bounce back. They have a legitimate defense. The Broncos play good defense, and the Chiefs really don't blow anybody out. You take a look at all their games this year. They went in overtime by 6 against a Tampa Bay team that really, didn't have anybody there. Then they beat the Raiders by 7, who it's the Raiders. Then they beat the 49ers by 10, who it's the 49ers with none of their players. Then they beat the Saints only by 13. Everyone beats the Saints by 100 points. So this Chiefs team really doesn't blow anybody out right now. So if you're going to give me 7.5 points with the Broncos, I'm all over it. Like I said, a legitimate defense and a legitimate team. Don't let last week's performance deter you from betting them in the future. It's just one bad week. They are a good team. Give me the Broncos. I agree with you, Chris. Let's see a big performance. Yeah, and first of all, I don't know if I can do those 20 push-ups either way, so don't make me root against this Broncos team here.
I would bet the over-under on Alpha's push-ups somewhere around that mark to 20.
You're being very kind. I appreciate it.
I got you, man. I got you. I'm going on the under here, man. I think this is an easy fade on the public with two defenses that are top 5 units in the league. Before the Ravens game, we don't need to talk about the Ravens game. The Broncos had allowed more than 20 points just twice this season. I mean, the unit ranks 8th in terms of red zone defense, 6th in total defense, while the Chiefs have the 3rd best rushing defense in the NFL. Both offenses have had their struggles this year, and I think this becomes kind of a defense-first field position game, even with Mahomes under center. This Broncos defense has a lot to prove, man. They have a lot to prove after getting torched by Baltimore. Let's see them step up here, man. I like the Broncos to cover. They're one of the best teams against the spread at 6-3, but I think my official pick here is under 41.5. Let's see the defenses step up because I love watching both of these defenses, man. They are fun to watch.
I agree. I totally agree. And I don't think you could take anything away from this Broncos defense just because the Ravens put up 41 against them. The Ravens are putting up 41 against basically everyone. So,
yeah, that's true. Exactly. Hey, we've got close to 500 people in here. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us, talking to us. Hopefully we win some cash together. From picks to props, though, let's go to our best props on Sunday. One of my favorite segments where we roundtable this bad boy, fire off our 3 best prop plays for the Sunday slate. One at a time. If you're in chat and you have a prop you love, as always, man, send it in to us. We'll talk about it. But while we wait, I'll fire off with my best prop of the week. I mean, we talked about him a lot off the top of the show. It's DeAndre Hopkins over receptions. Whatever the number is, I believe it'll be in the 5.5, 6.5 area. I don't think they have props available yet for that game. If I'm mistaken, the sports books are really lacking when it comes to dropping props early, but I think it'll be around the 6.5 area. Monday was just the beginning of a beautiful blossoming friendship and relationship between Hop and Mahomes, man. D-Hop went from 2 catches for 29 yards on 3 targets to 8 catches on 9 targets for 8 catches and 86 yards and 2 scores against the Bucs on Monday Night Football. You don't think something clicked in Mahomes' brain on that Monday? Like, damn, maybe I do have like a top 10 receiver in the league at my disposal now. Look for him to get fed against a tough Broncos defense. The yards might not always be there because, like we said, this Broncos defense is incredible, but this is a pure volume play, man. I love his receptions on Sunday. Give me D-Hop over receptions. Chris, your best prop of the week, pal.
week is we're going to circle back to the Sunday night game. This has hit 7 of the last 10 times, and it's only going to continue. I love CJ Stroud over 12.5 rush yards. With the lack of receivers and how much man Detroit plays, when those defensive players turn their back, it just opens up lanes for the quarterback. CJ Stroud is athletic. The number's 12.5. These guys can do it all. They can run, they can pass. Give me CJ Stroud over 12.5 rush yards. Again, 70% hit rate. I can see that hitting, especially with, lack of receivers and, Detroit's commitment to stop the Joe Mixon. So I could see CJ Stroud getting that easily.
Yeah, I actually played that last week. His number was at 8.5, and he just soared over that number. So look for CJ to use his legs on Sunday, man. That guy is an absolute stud. Alpha, prop of the week.
Amari Cooper, anytime touchdown, plus 125. You know how I feel about him in this Bills offense. The best route runner that they have, arguably the best route runner in the NFL. He should be able to find the end zone at least once this week. And at plus 125, those are some great odds for that play. Give it to me.
And shout out Derek again, coming live from Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. We talked about how a lot of people are going on Mark Andrews this week. Yeah. He's going on Mark Andrews over yards. Not a bad play.
I told you before, I think I told you, it might have been on the show or before the show. I know I said it to you, Dustin, at one point that I said, every time I scroll Twitter today, the only thing I'm seeing is Mark Andrews yards over and Mark Andrews touchdowns. With Isaiah likely out, it seems like everybody loves that play today.
Yeah, honestly, watch Mark Andrews. He's just going to ruin a lot of slips or make a lot of people are going to be stealing from the sports books tonight. We'll see.
It feels like it could be one of those first play of the game, rolls his ankle, and the entire world starts screaming it's a fraud. They still win the game by 100 points, but
somebody made the call to Vegas. Somebody made
like that one.
Vegas. It'll happen. My second favorite prop, Tank Dell. Anytime touchdown, the math is mathing to me on this one, man. Even if Nico Collins comes back, I think Collins is coming back. This also may help this cash either way. If he's out or if he's in, man, he's going to draw a little bit more people on him, a little bit more DBs on him. If he is back, if he's not, it's all Tank Dell's offense once again, man. He showed what he could do as a true number one target. He's just a great route runner. He's got great hands, the speed to match. Even though Chris thinks he's 150 pounds soaking wet, which he looks like he possibly is, I think CJ Stroud still has complete trust in this guy, man. He's only got 2 scores on the season. Tank gets his third in a game that will have a ton of scoring and against a defense that allows the 4th most yards through the air in the NFL. That's the Lions right there. I'm looking for Tank Dell to find the end zone.
I like it. I had him last week, and it was a cash.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Tank Dell, he had 126 yards last week. The guy's an absolute stud, man. I'm telling you.
I believe he had 2. He had 2 last week, right?
2 tutties?
Yeah, I think he had 2.
I think he only had 126 yards last week. I don't think he scored, did he? Or is that
he definitely scored at least? He definitely scored at least one because I know I sent you one of my parlays that was two touchdowns, and he was definitely one of them that was involved in that.
Regardless, he went absolutely off, man. I love watching him play. He might not be a true number one just because of his size, but it is fun to watch him even be the secondary option, be a nice slot guy. He's incredible to watch.
You're right. He did not score. It was the week before that he had 2.
Yeah, he had 126 yards last week, I think. Chris, second favorite prop of the week, pal.
I like me some Tank Dell. He's a great, possession receiver, third down guy. He really catches the ball, but he's just a good complimentary guy. He just doesn't, if he goes against a Patrick Surtain, I don't really see him getting open. But this one's not going to really excite anybody, but I just love the value. Listen, I'm going Chase McLaughlin over 1.5 field goals at plus 110. I think Tampa Bay moves the ball. They're really injured and battered. They're going against a really good team. I can just see him easily just, driving the ball down, not really wanting to convert and just getting field goal after field goal after field goal. Give me Chase McLaughlin over 1.5 field goals for plus 110.
Do they have his points?
Go ahead, Alpha.
Do they have his points, Chris? Because that's a fantastic play.
I think it's 6.5. It was earlier when I checked. It was like 6.5 points for Chase McLaughlin. It might have gone to 7 now, though.
Wow, I would take over 1.5 field goals over the
first time we've ever had a kicker prop on this show. We usually go not with the sexy options, but hey, kickers
value money.
People.
I love that.
It's all about the Benjamins, right? Hey, I'm telling you, kickers are people too, man. That is a great look. That is a great look for a game that should be under the total and a game that should feature a lot of kicking.
Agreed.
Alpha.
It's my turn again?
It's your turn again, brother.
Let's do it, boys. So I have a little combo platter for you, a little lunch special. So what I'm going with here is I'm doing Brian Robinson / Austin Ekeler anytime touchdown. What that means is if Brian Robinson does not start, you're taking Austin Ekeler. If Brian Robinson is starting, you're taking Brian Robinson. I think whichever Washington running back is going to be the featured back will find the end zone at least once. We all still know that Jaden Daniels is still banged up. He is still banged up. He did take a couple shots to the ribs, so they're not going to be running him out of the pocket a ton to where he's going to be running down the field. A lot of times in the red zone early in this year as well, they would do bootlegs and plays for Daniels to get on the edge and run into the end zone. With the ribs the way they are in a game of this magnitude, I don't think he'll be running a ton. I think they will feature the running backs here. And when you take a look last week when Austin Ekeler filled in for Brian Robinson, he had 2 touchdowns and about 1 billion yards against the Giants. So I think that either one of these running backs will find the end zone at least once in this game. So yet again, if it is Brian Robinson who is named the starter, if he is healthy, we're going Brian Robinson. If he is ruled out, we're going Austin Ekeler. Right now, both guys have a -110 price, so they truly don't know which one is going to start. It's indicative from that price. So if you take both of them even, whichever one doesn't go, you'll probably be refunded. But I would wait till you see which one is the named the starter.
Now we've got another viewer prop here. We got Chase Brown over rush yards. I think it's sitting around 70, 72.5 for the workhorse for the Bengals. What are you guys thinking about Chase yards over here?
Chris, you can go first, bro.
I haven't really looked much into it, but you know what? With the addition of Hubbard, I'm sure Chase Brown will get a lot of looks. I like his receptions more than anything when going Chase Brown, but I don't hate it.
His number 6.5. I think that's kind of low for a guy who's probably going to touch the ball 14 to 15 times. Man, look at his workload the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, but you're going up against a team that can't defend the pass at all. I agree with Chris here. If you're going to take something, I would probably combine his rushing and receiving, which is at 84.5, because I do think he has the opportunity to catch a screen, break one for some big yardage. I'm not a huge fan of his rushing because I do believe the game script of what the Bengals are going to have to do tonight is pass, because they should go down early. They should go down early. Yeah, 100%.
All right, guys. My last prop. Welcome back, Christian McCaffrey. Welcome back, Christian McCaffrey. Anytime touchdown. Does anything else need to be said, man? He's back. This might be the only time you see this prop sitting at around like 140 until he reaches Derrick Henry levels at -270, whatever stupid number Derrick Henry is to score a touchdown tonight. But coming back to the field for the first time this year, the 49ers will be wanting to get him the ball inside the red zone. That's where he does the majority of his damage, man, whether it's on the ground or through the air. You can take it to the bank that McCaffrey's going to score here, man. If you have some cojones on you, sprinkle in McCaffrey to score twice for some plus money value against the defense that's allowed 30, 31, 41, 27, and 36 points across its last 5 weeks, man. I'm giving CMC an anytime touchdown, and I'm probably going to sprinkle on him to score twice.
Do we have the odds on that yet, or is it still waiting for them to be dropped?
Sportsbooks take a while for those to drop. I don't think it's out right now. And I don't think he's 100% certain to play, but it looks like he's trending towards suiting up on Sunday.
Wait. Odds are out.
Ooh, for McCaffrey?
Yeah.
What is he at? No, is it -2? 230? It's -3.
Oh. -3. He's getting the Derrick Henry treatment.
Go twice.
Let me see what those odds are.
-300.
Plus 220 blows.
I think they're going to work him slowly in.
I agree. I didn't want to say it, Chris. I'd be very hesitant to bet any CMC things until I see he has 2 working legs. Until both legs I can see moving, I'm waiting.
Have you been looking at the reports, though, man? He's got no pain. I've seen his film. He's looking.
I agree.
But we'll see. You never really know until you take that first hit, and you take that first hit at the knees, that at the ankles. We'll see how the Achilles holds up. But
honestly,
the end zone.
Great play to take live. This might be one you may watch the first quarter. They may try to incorporate him slowly back in the game, not give him any red zone carries that early. But second half, after he's been tested, he may get more. So you might get this closer to a -110 or in between -110, -150 if you wait till after the first quarter.
Chris, your last favorite prop of the week. Give it to us, pal.
You're probably going to hate this, but it's only hit twice out of the last 10 times, and I'm actually going to go Joe Burrow under 274. It's already gone down to 272.5. Listen, He threw for, I think I look here, 392 yards against Baltimore. If you guys don't think Baltimore is not sitting in the meeting rooms today saying we cannot let this happen again, you're crazy. They're going to do everything they can. Chase Brown does not scare me. Now that I think about it, that over 56.5 is actually, I'm leaning more towards that because with 𝐜𝐭𝐿, with that left tackle probably being out, that's a big number on a short week. 272. I could be wrong. He's an unbelievable player, and he definitely is going to throw it all over the yard. That's a big number, man. And he doesn't really have a good hit rate. I'm going with the percentages. Joe Burrow. It's not my best bet, but I'm going to lean Joe Burrow under 274.5.
I'm just scared for them to be down like 14 points and to be in catch-up mode.
That's what I think the script is
got to go,
be.
man. Joe's got to go. But you know what? We'll see. I can't wait for tonight's game. This is the first time on a Thursday that I've been genuinely like incredibly excited to watch.
Right.
Alpha, your last favorite prop of the week, brother.
Last favorite prop of the week is going to be James Conner anytime touchdown. You guys can currently get that at, let me double check here. I don't want to say the wrong line. -120. That's correct. I think he's going to have a field day in this matchup this weekend. James Conner had a big game against the Bears last week. He did have 18 carries for 107 yards. If he gets 18 carries in this game this week, I have no issue seeing him getting into the end zone. He did have a touchdown stolen from him last week from Emari DeMercado, who broke one for a long one there. I believe it was a 53-yarder. Trey Benson also stole one, but in this game, they should be able to find James Conner. He's a threat in the passing game. He's a threat in the running game, and it's a play that has been profitable on this show. I've given it out twice this year. Both times I've given it out, he scored. So let's go for a three-peat, fellas. 3-0 on James Conner touchdowns.
I'm feeling we're all going 20-0 this week.
40-0. Let's go 90-0.
Hey, shout out to the close to 700 people in here. This is the longest show on record through 10 weeks, but it's because I think we have a ton of exciting matchups, man. A lot to talk about, a lot of exciting matchups, but let's head on over to our fantasy stardom sit-em, man. Yeah,
I'm hyped.
Week 10's got to be our favorite, my favorite slate of games so far in the season. But fellas, let's head on over to the fantasy segment. We absolutely we're all fantasy players here. We love playing fantasy. Sometimes I just stare at my lineup, and I'm sure you guys do too. My start of the week, Jalen Waddle, man. Waddle might have had the weirdest stat line in NFL history last week. The guy hauled in 2 catches for -4 yards and a touchdown. That final play, that's also a bad beat. If you had Tua over 254 or something, he had 250 yards passing before Waddle caught the ball and ran like 40 yards backwards and the under hit. And if you had his over, I'm sorry, that's the worst beat of the season. But I digress, man. But Waddle is my start of the week. He's been so mad at his lack of volume that he didn't even do the Waddle dance when he scored last week, man. I think this season changes for the better on prime time under the lights against the Rams. This is a game destined for a lot of points, man. Like I said, we've got Kupp and Nacua. We've got Hill and Waddle. This Rams defense is prone to getting torched. They give up nearly 400 yards through the air a week ago against Seattle. Before that, it was Justin Jefferson posting 100-plus yards against this mediocre secondary. Waddle's going to be running angry. He's about to get Waddle in your lineup for Monday Night Football. He's my start of the week. Chris, start of the week.
Malik Neighbors. The guy just averages 12 targets. The ball is just going in his way. 11, 13, 8, 15, 12, 18, 7. The guy just gets the ball thrown to him. They're going to be down. Daniel Jones is going to throw from behind. He's their only target they have. Just on a sheer volume standpoint, I don't see why. And who is he going against? Carolina really going to stop him. So I'm going to go Malik Neighbors start.
I got news for you on that as well. As of 4 seconds ago, literally 4 seconds ago, Giants number 2 receiver Darius Slayton has announced he is going to be out and is not making the trip to Germany. So big news for any of you Malik Neighbors fantasy players.
Love it. Our resident reporter, Alpha Dog Bets. Nobody does it better. Alpha, start of the week, brother.
I'm always locked in, my guy, but I have to quickly toot my own horn after last week. I came on here and told you guys to bench Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen had 4 catches for 30 yards, no touchdowns. He put up a 7-burger. Just 7 points in a full-point PPR league. I told you guys to start Xavier Legette. Xavier was only owned in 20% of leagues, and he was only started in 3% of leagues. I told you to put him in there. What did he do? He had 13.9 fantasy points, including a touchdown. He had a big game, so I'm happy to say that one worked out for us. We're going back to the wide receiver well yet again, and our start this week is Courtland Sutton.
Ooh, I love it. I love Courtland Sutton and that offense, man. They're starting to tick up. I mean, Bo Nix is starting to be Bo Nix. He's starting to figure out the NFL game. That offense, you might have not have seen it against Baltimore last week, but they've been humming, man. I like that Courtland Sutton.
Quickly on Courtland Sutton last week, he had 27 fantasy points. Mm-hmm. He had 7 receptions, 122 yards, and threw for a touchdown. Let me repeat that. He threw for a touchdown on a trick play.
Yeah, Sutton's done that a few times, hasn't he? Absolutely.
Yep.
He's got the arm. He's got the arm.
He's got a cannon.
Yeah, he used to play quarterback. Okay, sit of the week. I might be crazy for this one, but I'm sitting Marvin Harrison Jr., man. He hasn't been a complete fantasy bust this year, but he hasn't been good either. He scored less than 5 points in 4 out of the last 5 weeks. He'll be seeing a ton of Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed in that Jets defense. This game already projects to be low scoring. Marvin's averaging around just 5 targets per week as well. I think it'll be tough, but sit Marvin Harrison on your bench. Staple him to your bench. He's not doing anything against that Jets defense this week, especially against a team that's on the rise as well. Look for the Jets, man. Chris, sit of the week.
Take this, but I'm going to sit CJ Stroud. Depending on what happens with Nico Collins, I just don't think it's a favorable matchup for him. They're probably going to run the ball. It's going to be, again, an under game in my estimation. I like him over his rush yards, which isn't that much anyway. So, and he really hasn't been throwing touchdowns. I'm going to go CJ Stroud under. Detroit Lions they made Jordan Love at home, like you said earlier, Alpha. The rain game didn't help them, but didn't stop Detroit for putting up numbers. So I like CJ Stroud on the bench. Maybe stream someone if you can find them, but CJ Stroud is a sit for me.
Would you start Matt Stafford over him or Jared Goff over CJ Stroud?
Jared Goff, yes.
I would start. Jared Goff has been unbelievable, but again, the way the game's going, if I look at the numbers here, total yards per game, Houston is actually 3rd in the league in pass yards. They only give up 167. I wouldn't start Jared Goff. I'm going to actually lean toward Matt Stafford against the Dolphins to start over them. It's just a more favorable matchup. Matthew Stafford, he's got his weapons. You know what? Sean McVay knows how to call an offense. I would definitely start him over those 2 guys.
And Matt Stafford is currently still available. He's only 61% rostered. Get him on your lineup. Get him on your team if he's still on the waiver wire. 61% rostered. Like we've been talking about, man. He's got his weapons back. He's got a offensive friendly matchup coming up on Monday Night Football against the Finns. Let's see Stafford. Let's see Stafford in your lineups, man. If you're looking with CJ Stroud, if you're looking for a replacement, Stafford's right there for you. Sit of the week, Alpha.
Sit of the week is going to have to be Travis Etienne, and it might be a bench for the season / release. This guy's absolutely useless in fantasy. Let's take a look at how he's done recently. In his game returned last week against Philadelphia, who was ranked the 30th best team against fantasy running backs. He had 3 carries for 24 yards, basically got benched for the entire game for Bigby. On the games before that, out, game before that, minus a point, game before that, 7, game before that, 6, game before that, 9. He's coming in ranked the 202nd best player in fantasy this year. There's no use on anyone's team for Travis Etienne for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I know my brother, we play in a keeper league, and he kept Travis Etienne. He's had a rough go this year, man. I think he fumbled last week too. Or
not
no,
what you want.
He has a good record, so
a pass went through his hand, went for an interception. It's been all down for Travis Etienne this year, man.
Agreed.
Hey, fellas, thank you so much for your time, man. That just about does it for week 10. Over an hour show with my boys Alpha, with Chris. I appreciate you guys coming in, talking with us. We have just over 700 people in here. Thank you guys for talking with us, showing us love. As always, we'll be back week 11, same time, same place. If you tail us or fade us, just remember, we always love you. Remember to sign up for the NFL Capper contest over at Oddspedia for free and have your chance to win some money. Last month, like I said, I came 18th out of 300 cappers and it was cashed out in an instant. If I didn't work for the company, we don't have to talk about that. Head on over to Oddspedia US Twitter. It's our pinned tweet if you want to sign up. Let's have a damn week. Hey, we'll see you next Thursday. Appreciate you guys.
We'll be back. Appreciate y'all. Let's go Giants.